G'day. Trevor Young here. This is the PRA report via LinkedIn. Now, each fortnight on a Monday, I create or I publish a newsletter on LinkedIn called the PRA report. And then what I'm going to do is put up a video the following Monday that explains a little bit more about it. And sometimes it'll be live, sometimes it won't. But it just means that I dig into a topic significantly in the article, but then I can extrapolate out on it and bring it to life a little bit more in video the following week. So get a bit of words and a bit of video. Alrighty. So last week I published an introduction to what I call the credible authority method. Now, this is how an expert, a bona fide, a genuine, a credible expert, a leader, an entrepreneur can profit from their ideas and their wisdom and their experience. Now, basically what it is, it's a joining of the dots, which it's taken me a few years to come to this, and how all the elements come together. And so I can put it into a roadmap so people can see from going from no one knows you to the transformation at this end where you're building a sustainable and scalable business around your personal brand and the reputation you have built in the marketplace. So if you want to learn how to build a recognized professional personal brand that drives business results and delivers long-term impact, then this method might be of interest. Now, I'm just going to take you through it today. And again, if you're interested in digging a little deeper, check out my LinkedIn newsletter, the PR Warrior report from last Monday. And I go into more detail. Well, I go into detail there as well. So here we go. There's 4 parts to the credible authority method. Number 1 is empower your voice. And this is about preparation. Number 2 is enhance the credibility of that voice. The third one is extend the reach of your voice and your story and your message. It's about amplification. And then the fourth one is extract the value from the profile and reputation that you build in the marketplace. And this is all about capitalizing. So let's dig into each one of those. Here we go. So empower your voice. This is about mindset and positioning. Getting into the right frame of mind for putting yourself out there on the web and to publish all your content and to serve an audience. Now, if you have, you're someone who does self-sabotage a lot, you're always seeking perfectionism, you get afflicted by the imposter syndrome at times, and we all to varying degrees do, I believe, then this is the part about trying to get over those roadblocks and what are some strategies that we can put in place to make sure that, we don't want to be perfect. We want to ship our work. We want to get it done and get it out there. So this is about preparing our mindset for putting ourselves out there in the marketplace. It's also about unpacking the creator economy and the whole creator economy landscape. This is booming at the moment. There's a massive infrastructure, and these are about, the independent creators who are out there kicking a lot of goals. Now, they're building audiences and they're monetizing that audience, etc. Often when you're an expert in your space, you've already got your products and services and things that you're doing. But what can we learn from people who are in the creator economy and doing it well? But what does the landscape look like? And what are the trends and the opportunities that come with building a visible and trusted thought leader brand? Okay, so we're also going to gain an understanding of what makes the professional you unique. The professional you unique in the marketplace. So unpacking a little bit, this whole part 1 is very much about looking inward. So it's very internal in that regard. And so what makes you unique? How can you cherry pick the things that, to be different? We have to be different to stand out in today's marketplace. As Sally Hogshead, the author and the speaker, says, different is better than better. Okay, so we also need to then determine a realistic sense of direction by understanding our aspirations and outlining our goals and ambitions. We've got to give ourselves some purpose and direction. And then we need to decide upon what we want to be known for in the marketplace and selecting what I call your reputational flags. What flags are you going to put in the ground? And finally, we're going to be building out a picture of our what I call a stellar client, your ideal client. Who are they and what are their their characteristics, their qualities, their values? What about working with them that energizes and inspires you? So it's all about getting a fair bit of clarity in this empower your voice stage. It's about mindset and positioning. With all that done, we're ready to move into stage 2, which is enhance the credibility of that voice. And this is about our content and our channels. Now, we're going to dig deeper into the audience, and by identifying their informational needs. We also want to know what their challenges and their fears are, what bugs them, what keeps them awake at night. But conversely, I'm very interested to know what does inspire them. What do they see as opportunities in the marketplace that they could help dominate their space or create greater impact with the work that they're doing. So we're going to unpack them a little bit, but this is more about before who is our ideal client or our stellar client. This is more so about how can we create content for them. So we need to know what's going to be of interest and relevance to them. So they read our content, watch our videos, listen to our podcasts, and think, I agree with that person. That's what we're trying to do. We're also wanting to be selecting in this phase, selecting our foundational owned and social media channels. So I like to start with one owned media channel. That would be going to do a podcast, going to do a video, an online video show or a live stream or a blog or just a regular text-based newsletter. They're the channels that you own. Start with one. If you haven't started with any of them yet, start with one. Really get into it, build up that bit of a following, get your confidence. You can certainly repurpose any of those owned media formats for social channels, but just focus on one. Don't try and do everything at once. Get one and then you can move on to another, which you can then move on to another. And also I like picking one primary social media channel. With a lot of you it will be LinkedIn, but also a secondary one I think is good to have a little bit more fun with, experiment a bit with me. I think Twitter is really important if you're wanting to build influence in the marketplace. Well, all the people who are influencers are on Twitter, the media, other podcasters, other influencers and influential voices. A lot of them are on Twitter. So if you want to be connecting with those people, then maybe your 1-2 punch, as it is with me, is LinkedIn and Twitter, but some people it might be Facebook and Instagram, for example. So the other thing is once we've got our channels, we're going to be creating content for it. So we know our audience and we've got our channels, but then we need to sort of build out what I call our content pillars, and together with some core sub themes. Now that sounds a bit, and it is a little jargony, I'm sorry there, but this is about, we talk about our flags in the ground earlier. Well, what does that transpose into content? What does that look like? Do we have, I think it's good to have one big meaty piece and then made up of a number of sub themes. And then that gives you 4 very solid flag in the ground type articles that you can use on LinkedIn, on your blog, wherever. You can create videos around those, certainly on podcasts. They're your main spheres of conversation. What debates are you going to lead? What conversations are you going to participate in and potentially lead as well? Now, I always like it that if someone is pretty serious, they can create a signature content piece. Now, this might be a guide, the ultimate guide, a report, a mini ebook. So when you do that content pillar and have a couple of sub themes, that's the top end of what, very meaty about your topic and your subject and what you want to be known for. You can then pull all that together and put it into an ebook, for example, so people can download. So that's, we want to create once and then repurpose multiple times across multiple formats is what the idea is there. And so once we have those articles written, and we know what it is we stand for. And if all people have to do is read one or two of those articles and they get a really good feel for who you are, if that's all they read, then they'll get a really good feel for you, your personal brand, what it is you do and what you stand for. The other thing is we need to be rolling out content, yes, across our social channels and our chosen owned media channel. So if it's going to be a podcast, are we going fortnightly? Are we going weekly? Are we doing a monthly video show? Are we putting a newsletter out every couple of weeks? So we need to work out that own channel. We need a content calendar or an editorial calendar to fill the pipe of that owned media channel. And so we need to know we're going to roll it out. We've got a calendar. We know what, getting a bit in advance is always a good idea, rather than getting behind all the time and having to just make it up. So even planning 3 weeks or 3 issues or 3 episodes in advance and getting a couple in the pipe is always a really good idea, and it just takes the pressure off. So sometimes when you want to start, you want to get out and launch. I always recommend you get a few episodes or issues or whatever it is, blog post articles ready, so you buy yourself some time. So the thing there is we want to work out, we're going to roll out the content calendar or the editorial schedule, whatever you want to call it. We want to know in that regard, what is our publishing rhythm? How are we going to get it out there? Do we need assistance? Do we need a VA to help us with some things to, you might hand up. I know some people who do a podcast and then hand that podcast over to a place that repurposes it and turns that into 6 to 8 bits of social media that you can then use to promote that one bigger piece of content. So there's a little bit that comes through this, a little bit of, I don't want to say governance, but more process around doing it. Once you've got that down pat, then you'll be a lot more comfortable. You won't be doing as many random acts of content as the author Jay Bear likes to say. And finally, in this stage, you're going to want to be measuring your social media efforts, your content efforts, what metrics are really important for you. And let's start putting in place we don't want to measure everything. We just want to measure the things that are relevant to you. Okay, so the third part is extend the reach of your voice, and that is your story and your message. We want to amplify. We want to get out there and build our audience and our community. So the parts around this that are relevant are deepening the level of connection you have with your existing audience first. So everyone likes new. We want to grow our audience. We want new people, more people, yet they neglect to actually spend some time digging in deep with the people who are already their followers. Really what we're trying to do is we want to turn our followers into subscribers, and then our subscribers into a community of supporters and enthusiasts and advocates for our personal brand, our ideas, what it is we do and what we stand for. So number one in this part is look at the audience you've already got. Who are the people that really connect with you a lot and like your content and share your stuff online? They comment on your posts on LinkedIn, for example, and make sure you start getting closer to get into the social trenches a little bit more. And this is a really good habit to get into if you're not already doing that. And then we want to be growing our audience through a number of means. Now, number one is through media relations, and this is about which media platforms do the people who you're trying to reach and connect with, who do they follow and trust? So this might be publication specific, might be who are the editors or journalists at those publications, whether they're hard copy or most likely to be online publications. Are they mainstream? Are they industry based? Are they vertical titles? Industry journals and such. Identify those. You might have a point of view that is a bit more, how shall we say, it's a bit more mainstream. And so, you might have some mainstream commentary that might be right for radio or TV in the case of, some news or some topical issues that are out there that you might be able to comment on. So you need to know what they are. And I also put into this bunch branded content channels. So there's a lot of brands out there, some quite big, some not so big, but they can compete quite well, where these brands have got their own content channels, and they've got journalists running these channels for them, and they need good content. So yes, they'll probably create some for themselves, but they'll also often take external some external stories and opinion pieces from people who they regard as reputable in the industry. So that's worth a look as well. Never underestimate the power of a really solid, established, branded, i.e. commercial, and a commercial brand running their own channel. So I put them in media relations. And then there's another under that is other influencers who have got their own media channel, but there's probably one or two of them. They're not a machine in the back end. So this could be and you've got to identify and prioritize them, but these would be podcasters, bloggers, social media power users. You've got to ask yourself, have they got the power to influence your target audience? So it might be a podcaster who talks on a topic that's relevant to what you talk on, and you might therefore say, they reach my audience. By the sound of things, by the looks of things, you can do your homework and find out a little bit more about them. And then the key then is to build a relationship with them, and when it's right, maybe pitch yourself as an interview, potential interview guest, and these are the topics you can speak on, be interviewed around. So that's another good way. But also never underestimate social media power users. There's some people on Twitter who they're not bloggers, not podcasters. They don't do YouTube, but they're very good on Twitter, and they might have 5,000, 10,000 followers. And so, if they're going to start sharing your stuff, that's not bad as well. So again, it's all about building genuine, real, authentic relationships with these people and being part of their world. Before you can build your own community, you need to be part of other people's communities as well. And then depending on your industry and the organization you're in, or what the space that you play in, there might be some what I call micro power brokers in that industry. For example, they might be the chairperson of the local chamber of commerce, or there might be a professional association that's relevant to your space. Who are the power brokers in that? The directors, the chairperson, the presidents of those professional associations, the CEOs. They might not do social, they might not have a podcast or anything, but they might have a newsletter for the professional association, for example. And really, they might have influence if there's and we're just about to get on to speaking, that association might run events, and the people who are running that association, if they know about you, they might put you forth for an event to speak at. So this part about amplification, about extending the reach of your voice, is also very relevant for public speaking, getting out and speaking at conferences and events. So that begs the question then, what conferences and events do the people you're trying to influence and reach, the audience you're trying to build, what conferences are important in their world? What events? They don't have to be the big annual conferences necessarily. There might be some small seminars, that type of thing as well. So what are those events? And, there's two parts to it. One is if you can get a speaking gig at them and pitch yourself and nail a keynote, or a stand up on the stage and deliver a presentation, that's fantastic. Or be on a panel might be pretty good. Or if nothing else, strategic network, being there. So select those key industry conferences and events. It might be a basic meetup that happens once a month. If it's important for you to be seen at that event, go along. If you can be on a panel, fantastic. If you can get a keynote, even better. But even turning up and meeting and greeting people, and sharing. If you go to an event and there's someone speaking and you're there sharing it on, your views, and you're tweeting about it, that can be a powerful thing as well. These are little things that can make a big difference over the long run. And because I'm from a PR background, I join those dots, and they're all very important. Some are high touch, and but highly relevant. And then, you can get an article that reaches a broad stack of people, of which a portion might be of interest. So you've really got to be always having your radar on, and be thinking and seeing around corners and thinking, well, yes, this is of interest and relevance to my audience. My audience goes to these events. I need to be there, and I need to be seen to be there, and I'll tweet from that event, or I'll write an article from the speaker and put it up on LinkedIn the next day. You see how that's coming together. And the final part of it is extracting the value from the profile and the reputation that you have built in the marketplace. This is all about capitalizing on your personal brand, and think about it as commercialization and opportunity. Now, this is where some people might want to, get to this point and that's enough. Some people might just want to, do the little bit of strategy at the start, move on to creating content, but not getting too involved with, media relations or influencer relations. They don't want to be a podcast guest. And it's entirely up to you. You don't have to do any of this. But if you go all the way through this and continue, because it's once you start, you can't really just stop. You still need to have broad visibility again and again and again. And your message needs to keep reaching new people. But this final part really is, there is a bit of an end game. Now, it could be that you are a consultant, or you run a firm, or you've got a SaaS product, whatever it is, and that your profile and reputation and your personal brand in the marketplace will help attract warm leads because of that. So there's certainly that side of things. So even if you didn't explore any other opportunities, then having a profile is going to be great for your career or your business, if done correctly. But this part is about becoming inspired about what's possible and how to build a sustainable, a scalable, and a profitable business around your professional personal brand. And so I think it's really important to then start, and we're seeing this all the time, people doing this. They might have been a consultant or a coach or something like that, or running a firm, and they're just one-to-one all the time. And think, well, okay, how can I scale this business without it killing me in the process? So, once you've built that reputation, that credible profile, what does your monetization strategy look like? So that's what this is about. And, at this point, it's about developing a product ecosystem or a suite of services. So it could be everything over and above your consulting and advisory work, which you might be doing, or your mentoring or coaching. You could be doing ebooks and digital courses, running a membership, an online membership community. Group coaching programs are very good. You might be doing partnerships and collaborations with people, or paid for webinars. People will pay to listen to you and watch you present a webinar. Live events, you might run your own workshops in that regard, face-to-face workshops or online Zoom workshops. And I think, paid public speaking is a real thing in many industries as well. And of course, a lot of, we do see some professionals who have got a lot of credibility and been around the block once or twice. They do take up part-time lecturing and teaching. And it's something that gives them a bit of a buzz as well to give back to their industry. So there are a number of ways to do it, but you can't do everything. And what does your product ecosystem look like? And can you, if you want to keep your traditional advisory work or consulting work, how can you then add some of these digital offerings over and above to help round out your product or service offering? And also part of this is, once you start going down that, it becomes business, then you need to activate and integrate your digital marketing initiatives. So you might think the content you've done is digital marketing and your social media. Sure, it is, but that was all about organic, and it's really about content marketing for PR purposes. Now we want to say, well, okay, do we want to do SEO? Do we want to be doing search engine marketing or pay-per-click through Google? Do we want to be, creating sales funnels? Some people get switched on by that, others don't care about it. Certainly paid social, whether it's on LinkedIn or Twitter or maybe Facebook if your audience is there. Affiliate marketing, if you've built a big enough audience, that might be a revenue stream for you. And of course, automation will play a role, and the bigger you get and the more elements to your digital marketing strategy, the more email automation will come into play as well. So, and email marketing. So, there's a fair bit in this, but it's really, again, not going deep on certainly on anything, but looking at the broad picture first, getting excited about the opportunities, working out the productization, or the product ecosystem that you're going to build, and your commercialization strategy, and then working out what you can do, what you want to do, and then how are you then going to develop leads and build a sales machine, a digital marketing driven sales machine, to over and above your profile, your personal brand, your organics, which are going to work for you anyway. But how can you then turbocharge them through paid means? So there's a fair bit in that side as well. So what we're talking about is preparing, building, amplifying, and capitalizing, and building a scalable business, helping you profit from your knowledge, your expertise, your wisdom, your experience. And I call it the credible authority method. That's about raising your professional, building a recognized personal brand, a professional personal brand, about delivering business results or other impact. You might be a social entrepreneur, and it's not so much about business, but more so about a social issue that you want to educate the public about, and to get on the radar of more people. So, what is the impact you want to make? And then you need to lock that into this framework from the get-go. So you are aiming for something. Anyway, I'll leave it at that. Thanks for listening. There's a fair bit to it. I understand. Go back and have a look at the LinkedIn newsletter, the PR Warrior report from last week, last Monday, and have a look at that and see what you think there. It's already laid out for you as well. So thank you very much, and look forward to catching up another time.